The heart of service, the Lux Grand Hotel loomed majestically against the backdrop of the bustling city, its polished glass facade reflecting the sunlight like a beacon of luxury and sophistication. Known for its opulent interiors and world-class service, the hotel had become a symbol of success in the hospitality industry. Guests arrived from all corners of the globe, seeking not just a place to stay but an experience that would exceed their expectations. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with activity. Plush carpets muffled footsteps, while sparkling chandeliers cast a warm glow over the elegantly dressed staff, each moving with a purpose that spoke to their dedication to service. At the heart of this hive of activity was Darius Walker, a dedicated hotel worker whose journey had taken him from the depths of the kitchen to the bustling restaurant floor. At 32 years old, Darius was proud to have worked his way up from dishwasher to waiter over the past 5 years. Each day, he donned his crisp white uniform with pride, knowing that his efforts contributed to the hotel's stellar reputation. His commitment to providing exceptional service was unwavering, even in the face of the subtle biases that occasionally marred his experiences. Darius often found himself navigating the complexities of the hospitality world, where expectations were high and scrutiny was constant. He brushed off the sideways glances and condescending remarks that sometimes came his way, focusing instead on the tasks at hand. He knew that maintaining professionalism was essential, especially in a setting where every detail mattered. As he prepared for his shift, thoughts of his family filled his mind. His wife, Tanya, was pregnant with their second child, and their son, Marcus, was on the cusp of starting kindergarten. The pressure to provide for his family weighed heavily on him. The steady income and health benefits from his job at the Lux Grand were vital, especially with another baby on the way. The long hours and demanding nature of the job often left Darius feeling undervalued. Despite his dedication, he had seen less experienced colleagues rise through the ranks while his contributions seemed to go unnoticed. Yet he pressed on, fueled by a strong work ethic and a deep commitment to his family's well-being. As he entered the restaurant that day, he could sense the energy in the air. The lunch service was expected to be particularly busy, with several high-profile guests anticipated. The maitre d' approached him, her brow slightly furrowed with worry. "Darius, we're short-staffed today," she said, urgency lacing her voice. "I need you to cover sections 3 and 4. Can you handle it?" The tone left little room for negotiation. Darius nodded, hiding the swell of concern within him. "Of course," he replied, his mind already racing with the challenges that lay ahead. Taking a moment to compose himself, he surveyed the dining area, mentally preparing for the onslaught of guests. He knew that even the slightest misstep could result in complaints, and he was determined not to let the team down. As the lunch service commenced, Darius fell into a rhythm, juggling multiple tasks with practiced ease. He glided between tables, taking orders and delivering dishes, ensuring that each guest felt attended to. His warm smile never faltered, even when faced with demanding requests or impatient diners. At one table, a group of executives were deep in conversation, their voices rising above the clinking of silverware as they debated the merits of a business deal. Darius refilled their wine glasses, his presence barely acknowledged. He moved on to a couple celebrating their anniversary, who requested a specific table arrangement that required a swift but delicate rearrangement of furniture. Throughout it all, Darius remained focused. He had an innate ability to anticipate the needs of guests before they even expressed them. As the restaurant buzzed with activity, he relished the chance to make each dining experience memorable. But as the lunch crowd thickened, an unexpected incident occurred. A sudden commotion erupted at one of the tables. An anguished cry cut through the air. Darius's instincts kicked in, and he rushed towards the source of the disturbance. A young mother was frantically leaning over her baby, who had begun to choke on a piece of food. The restaurant fell silent, the joyful chatter of diners replaced by gasps of shock. Darius's heart raced as he quickly assessed the situation. He had learned about first aid in a mandatory training session, but nothing could prepare him for the urgency of the moment. The child's face was turning a shade of blue, and Darius knew he had to act quickly. "Someone call for help," he shouted, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. As he reached the table, he didn't hesitate. He carefully lifted the baby from the mother's arms and began performing his focus solely on saving the child's life. With each thrust, he felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on him. He could hear the gasps of onlookers, but all he could think about was the baby's tiny frame and the desperate need to free them from the grip of choking. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the obstruction dislodged, and the baby let out a cry of relief. The mother sobbed with joy, clutching her child tightly as tears streamed down her face. Darius felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with relief, knowing he had made the right choice. However, the moment of triumph was short-lived. As the restaurant staff gathered around, the maitre d' approached Darius, her expression shifting from gratitude to frustration. "What have you done?" she scolded, her voice rising above the murmurs of the stunned guests. "You've disrupted service. We have a reputation to maintain." Darius's heart sank. He had acted in the best interest of the child, but in that moment, it felt as though his actions had been reduced to a mere inconvenience. He was acutely aware of the expectations of the Lux Grand, and now he was being reprimanded for doing what he believed was right. "Your actions could have consequences, Darius," the maitre d' continued, shaking her head in disapproval. "We can't have our staff creating chaos in the dining room. You'll need to be more mindful." As the crowd began to disperse, Darius felt a mixture of anger and confusion. He had saved a life, yet he was being reprimanded for it. The weight of the moment hung heavily on his shoulders, a reminder of the often unforgiving nature of the world he had dedicated himself to. Little did he know, this incident would set in motion a series of events that would change his life forever. In the days that followed, Darius would find himself grappling with questions of loyalty, justice, and the true meaning of service, leading him down a path he never anticipated. As he prepared for the next shift, Darius vowed to remain steadfast in his commitment to his family and the values that guided him. He would navigate the complexities of his workplace, all while holding on to the belief that true service was about more than just following protocol. It was about compassion, courage, and doing what was right, no matter the cost. The ripple effect of one act continued. The center of an uncomfortable spotlight, what had once been a bustling environment filled with laughter and the clinking of silverware, now felt stifling. The luxury that the Lux Grand Hotel prided itself on seemed to overshadow the human experiences that often lay beneath the surface. Darius found himself avoiding the dining room where the choking incident had occurred, feeling the weight of judgment that lingered in the air. He continued to perform his duties as best he could, but with each passing day, the criticism gnawed at him. Colleagues who had once smiled and exchanged pleasantries now whispered behind closed doors, their laughter distant and hollow. As he pushed through the shifts, Darius reflected on the incident that had thrust him into this uncomfortable spotlight. The young mother's eyes, wide with panic, haunted him. He had acted instinctively, compelled by the urgency of the situation. Yet the lingering question remained, had he done the right thing? On one particularly busy afternoon, as he was refilling water glasses for a table of chatty tourists, Darius overheard snippets of conversations from nearby tables. Two women were discussing the recent incident at the restaurant. "I heard he almost got fired for that," one of them said, shaking her head. How could they treat someone who saved a child like that? Darius's heart sank, a mix of relief and frustration washing over him. Relief that someone recognized the gravity of his actions, but frustration that his story was being reduced to mere gossip. It was then he decided he could not remain passive any longer. The next day, Darius gathered his courage and sought out his supervisor, Sarah, who had been with the hotel for many years. She was known for her unwavering support of the staff, and Darius hoped she could provide him with guidance. "Sarah, do you have a moment?" he asked as he approached her office, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. "Of course, Darius." "Come in," she replied, gesturing for him. Once seated, he poured out his feelings. "I'm struggling with everything that's happened since the incident. I acted to save a life, but now it feels like I'm being punished for it. I'm not sure how to move forward." Sarah listened intently, her brow furrowing in concern. "What you did was courageous, Darius. There are many here who respect you for that. Unfortunately, the management's focus tends to be on protocols rather than personal actions, but you can't let that deter you from who you are." Encouraged by her words, Darius pressed on. "Do you think I should say something to management? I feel like they need to understand that the value of life is far greater than the need to maintain a perfect service record." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "I think it's important that you express your feelings, not just for yourself, but for others who might be in a similar situation. Perhaps a letter to management detailing your perspective could be a good start. They may not see things from your angle, but your words could resonate with them." Taking her advice to heart, Darius spent the next few evenings drafting a letter. He poured his emotions onto the page, recounting the events of that fateful day and how the experience had impacted him. He wrote about the fear he felt, the adrenaline that surged through him as he acted to save the baby, and the disappointment that followed when he was reprimanded. "I didn't expect accolades," he wrote. "What I hoped for was understanding. The heart of service lies not in adhering strictly to protocols, but in the ability to connect with others, to offer compassion in times of need. This is why we work in hospitality, to make a difference, however small it may seem." Once satisfied with his letter, Darius mustered the courage to deliver it to the management office the following day. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words behind him as he stepped into the polished office, filled with awards and accolades. The receptionist greeted him, surprised to see him. "Darius, everything all right?" He nodded, heart racing. "I'd like to drop off a letter for the management team." She smiled and directed him to the appropriate office. As he knocked on the door, he felt an unexpected surge of confidence. "Come in," called a voice from within. As he entered, Darius found himself face to face with the hotel manager and the HR director. He briefly explained his reason for being there, holding up the letter as if it were a lifeline. "Thank you for coming, Darius. We appreciate your initiative," the manager said, taking the letter from him. As he left the office, a sense of relief washed over him. No matter the outcome, he had spoken his truth. The weight of the last few days had lifted slightly, and he felt as though he had taken control of the narrative surrounding the incident. In the days that followed, Darius continued to perform his duties with the same dedication he always had. He made it a point to engage with guests, creating connections where he could. Slowly, the atmosphere around him began to change. A few colleagues approached him, expressing their support. "We saw the letter, Darius," one of them said. "You were brave to say what you did. It took guts." The solidarity among the staff reignited Darius's sense of belonging. He realized he was not alone in this struggle. Many of his colleagues shared his frustrations regarding the hotel's rigid adherence to protocol. The weeks turned into a month, and while there had been no official response from management regarding his letter, he began to notice a shift in the way they handled incidents. Staff members were encouraged to share their experiences, and there was a newfound emphasis on compassion alongside service standards. One evening, as Darius was finishing up his shift, the maitre d' called him over. "Darius, I wanted to personally thank you for your actions that day. Management is reviewing the protocols, and we're implementing a new training program focused on handling emergencies and empowering staff to act without fear of repercussion." Darius felt a swell of pride. "Thank you. I just wanted to ensure that everyone feels safe and supported when facing crisis." She nodded, a genuine smile breaking across her face. "Your courage has started a conversation, and it's crucial that we recognize the importance of prioritizing lives over procedures. You've made a real difference." As the weeks continued, Darius saw the fruits of his labor. The staff was more united than ever, sharing stories of their own experiences in hospitality. There was a sense of camaraderie that had been lacking before. It was as if the incident had opened a floodgate of emotions that had long been suppressed beneath the polished surface of the Lux Grand Hotel. One day, while at the coffee shop across the street from the hotel, Darius overheard two patrons discussing their recent visit to the "I was there the day that hotel worker saved that baby," one of them said. "It was incredible, and I heard he got in trouble for it. I can't believe they would reprimand someone for being a hero." Darius's heart swelled with pride at the acknowledgement. It reinforced the impact of that single day. He realized that sometimes true service transcends the walls of protocol. The strength of a community lay in their ability to recognize the humanity in one another, to stand together in the face of adversity. As he continued to work at the Lux Grand Hotel, Darius found renewed purpose. His actions had not only saved a life, but had also sparked a broader conversation about empathy and compassion within the workplace. With each passing day, Darius embraced the opportunity to inspire others to act with courage, reminding them that sometimes it takes a single act of bravery to change the course of a narrative. The challenges he faced had only strengthened his resolve, and he was determined to honor the moment that had shifted his perspective forever. The path to change continued. Confident in their abilities to respond effectively, we need to create an environment where compassion is not only encouraged but expected. Darius noticed nods of agreement from several managers as he spoke, their expressions reflecting a growing understanding of the importance of empathy in the workplace. As he elaborated on his points, he recalled the day of the choking incident and the frantic urgency it propelled him into action. In moments of crisis, people don't have time to weigh the consequences of their actions against strict protocols. They need to know that they are empowered to make decisions that can save lives. By fostering a culture of understanding, we not only enhance our reputation, but also strengthen the bonds within our team. After an hour of spirited discussion, the management team agreed to Darius's proposal to establish a staff committee focused on training and morale. They expressed their desire to see a change in the hotel's culture, but emphasized that implementation would require ongoing effort. With a sense of accomplishment, Darius left the meeting room feeling energized. It was a significant step toward creating a work environment that valued human connection over rigid adherence to rules. However, he understood that true change would take time and persistence. Over the next few weeks, the newly formed committee met regularly, gathering input from staff at all levels. Darius facilitated discussions, encouraging everyone to share their experiences and ideas. He was surprised by the wealth of knowledge and passion that bubbled up during these meetings. From front desk employees to kitchen staff, each member brought their unique perspective on how to improve service and enhance staff confidence in emergency situations. It became clear that the heart of the Lux Grand Hotel lay not just in its opulence, but in the stories and experiences of its employees. As the committee prepared to present their recommendations to management, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. They proposed a series of workshops that focused on real-life scenarios, emphasizing critical thinking and decision-making under pressure. They suggested including role-playing exercises to simulate various situations, allowing staff to practice their responses in a supportive environment. On the day of the presentation, Darius stood at the front of the room, flanked by his fellow committee members. They presented their findings and recommendations with enthusiasm, detailing how these changes could empower staff and improve guest experiences. "I've learned that the most meaningful moments in hospitality happen when we connect with our guests and each other," Darius said, his voice resonating in the conference room. Empowering our staff to act in emergencies is not just about compliance. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels valued and capable. The management team listened intently, nodding as Darius spoke. After the presentation, the hotel manager, who had been skeptical at first, stood up to address the group. "Thank you for your hard work and commitment to improving our culture here at the Lux Grand. I can see the passion behind your proposals, and I believe they can make a significant difference." As applause filled the room, Darius felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. They had accomplished something meaningful, transforming a tragic incident into a catalyst for positive change. Over the following months, the new training programs were rolled out. The workshops were a resounding success, with staff reporting a greater sense of confidence in their ability to handle emergencies. Darius found immense satisfaction in witnessing the transformation taking place within the hotel. Guests began to notice the positive reviews poured in, praising the attentive and compassionate service that staff were now trained to provide. Darius often overheard guests discussing their experiences with one another, sharing anecdotes about how the staff went above and beyond to ensure their comfort. However, not everything was smooth sailing. As the training programs gained traction, the hotel's management faced pushback from some of the veteran staff members resistant to change. They believed the new protocols undermined years of tradition and adherence to service standards. During a particularly tense staff meeting, Darius stood up, ready to address the growing unease. "I understand that change can be difficult, especially when we've spent years doing things a certain way. But it's essential to remember that hospitality is about evolution. We need to adapt to the needs of our guests and ourselves. Our goal is not to replace tradition, but to enhance it." His words resonated with many in the room, and he could see a shift in their expressions. By empowering ourselves to act in moments of crisis, we are honoring our commitment to service. Let's create a culture that respects both tradition and the necessity of change. Over time, Darius's approach began to break down barriers. More staff members started to embrace the changes, and discussions about service and personal responsibility became more constructive. Darius found joy in fostering a sense of community among his colleagues, ensuring everyone felt included in the hotel's mission. However, the experience had also ignited a personal desire in Darius to further advocate for others facing challenges in the hospitality industry. He began volunteering his time outside of work to mentor young people interested in careers in hospitality. He partnered with a local nonprofit organization dedicated to helping disadvantaged youth learn valuable skills in customer service and culinary arts. Darius believed that by sharing his knowledge and experiences, he could help others navigate their paths more easily. During one of his mentoring sessions, he met a young woman named Ava, who was passionate about cooking, but lacked confidence in her abilities. Darius recognized her potential immediately. "You have a talent for this, Ava. Believe in yourself, and don't be afraid to take risks. The kitchen is where you can express your creativity," he encouraged her. As weeks went by, Ava blossomed under Darius's guidance, her passion igniting into a flame of determination. She began experimenting with new recipes and even entered a local cooking competition, where she impressed the judges with her unique dishes. Watching Ava's transformation inspired Darius, reinforcing his belief that the hospitality industry could be a platform for change and growth. He organized workshops at the nonprofit, focusing on the values of empathy and service that had been central to his own journey. Each session resonated deeply with the participants, as Darius shared his experiences and encouraged them to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Hospitality isn't just a job, it's a way to connect with people, to create moments that matter, he told them. As Darius continued to mentor others, he felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond his work at the Lux Grand. His journey had come full circle, from a hotel worker facing racial biases to a community advocate nurturing the next generation of hospitality leaders. One afternoon, while preparing for a session, Darius received a call from the Lux Grand Hotel's management team. "We've been closely monitoring the success of the training programs and the positive feedback from guests," the manager said. "We'd like to invite you to share your story at the upcoming industry conference." Darius felt a rush of excitement and gratitude. "I'd be honored to share my experience. Thank you for this opportunity." The conference was a significant event in the hospitality industry, bringing together leaders from various hotels and organizations. As he prepared for his presentation, Darius reflected on how far he had come. When the day arrived, Darius stood before a crowd of industry professionals, ready to share his journey. He recounted the incident that had sparked his advocacy, his experiences within the Lux Grand, and the importance of compassion in hospitality. The heart of our industry lies not in luxury, but in the connections we forge, he concluded, his voice steady and filled with passion. By valuing empathy and understanding, we can create a hospitality landscape where everyone feels empowered to act, to serve, and to make a difference. The applause that followed filled Darius with pride. He had turned a painful experience into a powerful message of hope. Reaping the rewards of advocacy, Extended invited speakers to share their stories and experiences, ensuring that the program encompassed a diverse range of perspectives. The ultimate goal was to create a toolkit that any hotel or restaurant could implement, fostering an environment where staff felt confident in their abilities to respond to emergencies while prioritizing compassionate service. As Darius and his team began rolling out the pilot program in select hotels, he couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and nerves. The first session was scheduled at a mid-sized hotel in downtown Chicago, a venue known for its excellent service, but facing recent complaints about staff responsiveness in crisis situations. Darius arrived early on the day of the training, taking a moment to absorb the energy of the bustling lobby. Guests were checking in and out, staff members were engaged in conversations, and the air was filled with a sense of purpose. He reflected on how far he had come and the potential impact of what they were about to implement. The training began with a warm welcome from the hotel's general manager, who expressed his gratitude for Darius and his team's efforts. "We recognize that while we've built a strong foundation of service here, there's always room for growth," he said, looking out at the gathered staff. "Today, we'll learn how to better support each other and our guests in moments that matter." Darius kicked off the session by sharing his personal story, the incident that led him to advocate for change. He spoke passionately about the power of empathy, explaining how it could transform a standard service interaction into a life-saving moment. His words resonated with the staff, many of whom nodded in understanding. As the training progressed, the participants engaged in role-playing exercises designed to simulate various scenarios. They practiced responding to emergencies, such as a guest fainting or a child choking. Darius facilitated these exercises, guiding the staff through the process of assessing the situation, taking charge, and communicating effectively with their team members. At one point, a young server named Emily took on the role of a panicked parent whose child was choking. As the simulation unfolded, it became clear that many of the staff members felt uncertain about how to act in such a high-stress situation. Darius stepped in, gently reminding them to focus on their training and the protocols they had just reviewed. "Remember, it's about remaining calm and communicating clearly with each other," he urged. As the exercise continued, Emily broke character and shared her fears about handling emergencies. "I always worry that I won't know what to do, and I'll freeze up in the moment," she admitted, her voice shaky. Darius stepped forward, recognizing the teaching moment. "It's normal to feel that way, Emily. What's important is that you've taken the time to prepare. Just like any other skill, responding to emergencies takes practice. The more we train and communicate, the more confident we'll feel when it matters most." The room fell silent, and he could see that many of his colleagues were processing his words. It was a moment of vulnerability, and Darius knew it was essential to create an environment where everyone felt safe to express their concerns. As the session continued, the atmosphere shifted. Staff members began to actively participate, asking questions, sharing their experiences, and supporting one another. Darius felt a sense of pride in the progress they were making together. By the end of the day, the participants had formed a sense of camaraderie, united by their shared commitment to improving their hotel's culture. After the training concluded, Darius received numerous messages from the staff, expressing their gratitude and excitement about implementing the new protocols. One message stood out from Emily. "Thank you for today, Darius. I feel so much more prepared now, and I can't wait to put this into practice." Encouraged by the success of the training, Darius and his team continued to refine the program, gathering feedback and making adjustments as needed. They expanded their outreach to other hotels, organizing workshops in various cities. Each session brought new challenges, but Darius found joy in witnessing the evolution of the hospitality culture in each establishment. Word of the training program began to spread throughout the industry. Other hotel chains expressed interest in adopting the framework, and Darius found himself invited to industry conferences to share his insights. He was grateful for the opportunity to inspire others to prioritize empathy and empowerment in their establishments. One particularly impactful moment came during a conference in New York City, where he spoke to an audience of hotel executives and managers. Darius shared stories from the training, highlighting the positive changes he had witnessed in both staff and guest interactions. When we empower our employees to act with empathy, we create a culture of care that resonates throughout our hotels, he emphasized. Guests notice the difference, and they appreciate being treated as individuals rather than just numbers. As he left the stage, the applause filled the room, and he felt a wave of validation wash over him. His message was resonating, and he realized that he was part of a larger movement toward positive change in the hospitality industry. While Darius was busy advocating for change within hotels, his family life continued to flourish. Tanya gave birth to their second child, a beautiful baby girl named Maya. The joy of welcoming Maya into their lives brought renewed motivation for Darius to continue his advocacy work. In the evenings, after putting Marcus to bed, Darius would spend time with Tanya and Maya, sharing stories about his day and the impact he was making in the hospitality world. Tanya would listen intently, often sharing her thoughts on how important it was for Darius to continue advocating for others. "You have a gift, Darius. You inspire people not just with your words but with your heart. Your journey is powerful," she encouraged. With each passing month, the advocacy work continued to grow. Darius received invitations from educational institutions to speak to students pursuing careers in hospitality. He relished the opportunity to connect with young people, sharing not only the technical skills required for success, but also the importance of compassion and understanding in their future careers. At one university event, he encountered a diverse group of students eager to learn about the industry. Darius shared his experiences, emphasizing how empathy could enhance service and create lasting connections with guests. "Remember, you're not just serving food or checking in guests. You're creating moments that can change someone's day," he said passionately. A student raised her hand, looking contemplative. "How do we handle situations where we feel like we're not being treated fairly, especially if we face bias or discrimination?" Darius took a moment to reflect. It's important to acknowledge that bias exists, and it can be disheartening. However, I believe in using your voice to advocate for yourself and others. Find allies within your workplace and create a support network. Change begins with conversations. His words sparked a lively discussion among the students, and Darius felt a sense of fulfillment knowing he could provide guidance to the next generation of hospitality professionals. As the year progressed, Darius continued to collaborate with hotel chains to refine and implement the training program. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many establishments reporting a marked improvement in employee morale and guest satisfaction. The Lux Grand Hotel, where Darius's journey had begun, became a model for other hotels in the region. Management acknowledged the importance of the training program, committing to ongoing education for staff and regularly evaluating their protocols. Darius's contributions were celebrated, and he felt a deep sense of pride in being part of a movement that was reshaping the industry. One evening, as Darius sat at the dinner table with his family, he reflected on how far he had come. From the struggles he faced as a hotel worker to the advocate he had become, he recognized the power of resilience and determination. He smiled at Tanya and the kids, grateful for their unwavering support. "Dad, can you tell us the story of the baby you saved again?" Marcus asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Darius chuckled, knowing how much his son loved the tale. "Sure, buddy. But it's not just about that day. It's about everything that came after. It's about how we can all make a difference when we stand up for what's right. As he recounted the story, he felt a sense of closure. His journey had come full circle, not just as a hotel worker, but as an advocate for change. He knew that his work was far from over, but he felt empowered by the progress they had made and the lives they had touched. The conversation shifted to their dreams and aspirations, and Darius realized that the seed of advocacy had been planted in his children's hearts as well. They listened intently, inspired by their father's passion for service and connection. "Maybe one day we can all work together in hospitality," Tanya suggested, smiling at the kids. Darius nodded, envisioning a future where his children would carry on the legacy of compassion and empathy in their own careers. As he tucked Marcus into bed that night, Darius felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey he had embarked upon had not only transformed his life, but also the lives of building a legacy of compassion extended. As the months rolled on, Darius's advocacy work in the hospitality industry continued to thrive. The success of the training program he had developed was undeniable. Hotels across the country began to adopt the framework he and his team had created, integrating compassion and empowerment into their daily operations. In his free time, Darius started a blog to document his experiences, share insights, and highlight the importance of empathy in hospitality. He titled it, "The Heart of Hospitality." Each post resonated with readers, inspiring many to reevaluate their perspectives on service and human connection. Darius shared stories from his training sessions, offered practical advice on managing stressful situations, and discussed the significance of recognizing one's biases in the workplace. The blog became a platform for dialogue, inviting both industry veterans and newcomers to share their thoughts and experiences. One of his most popular posts was titled, "The Power of Listening, a Forgotten Skill in Hospitality." In it, Darius explored how taking the time to truly listen to guests could create more meaningful interactions. He cited examples from his own experiences, emphasizing how attentiveness could turn a routine service encounter into a memorable moment. "Every guest is a story waiting to be told," he wrote. "When we listen, we connect. And when we connect, we create lasting impressions." As Darius's blog gained traction, he began receiving invitations to speak at various hospitality conferences and workshops. One particular invitation to the National Hotel and Restaurant Association Conference in Las Vegas stood out. It was an opportunity to present his training program on a larger platform, and he felt both excited and nervous. In preparation for his keynote speech, Darius reflected on the journey that had led him to this moment. He crafted a compelling narrative that intertwined his personal story with the overarching themes of empathy and service. He wanted his message to resonate with those in the audience, many of whom had been in the industry for years. On the day of the conference, Darius stood backstage, feeling the rush of adrenaline coursing through him. As he stepped onto the stage, the lights illuminated his path, and he was met with a sea of faces, hotel executives, managers, and aspiring hospitality professionals. "Good afternoon, everyone," Darius began, his voice steady yet passionate. "Today, I want to talk about something that transcends our daily tasks in hospitality, something that can redefine our industry: compassion." He shared the story of the day he saved the baby from choking, detailing the fear, uncertainty, and ultimate triumph that came from that experience. He illustrated how that moment had ignited his passion for advocating change in the industry, emphasizing the importance of equipping staff with the skills and confidence to respond to emergencies. As he spoke, he noticed the audience leaning in, hanging onto his every word. He elaborated on the training program, discussing its development, implementation, and the positive changes it had brought to various establishments. Compassion is not just a feel-good concept. It's a practical approach to hospitality that can lead to better outcomes for our guests and our staff, Darius stated. When employees feel supported and empowered, they are more likely to provide exceptional service, which in turn leads to happier guests and a healthier bottom line. Darius encouraged the audience to reflect on their own experiences in hospitality. Think about the times you felt truly valued as a guest or as an employee. What made those moments special? How can we replicate that in our establishments? He wrapped up his speech by inviting the attendees to join him in creating a culture of compassion within their workplaces. Let's not just serve guests. Let's serve them with heart. Together, we can build a legacy of compassion that will redefine our industry for generations to come. The audience erupted into applause as Darius stepped down from the stage, a wave of exhilaration washing over him. He felt an overwhelming sense of purpose, knowing he had shared his message with a group that could make a real difference in the hospitality world. Over the next few weeks, Darius received numerous emails and messages from conference attendees expressing their appreciation for his speech. Many shared their own stories of compassion in the industry, sparking conversations that led to collaborations and new initiatives. Encouraged by this response, Darius decided to launch a series of workshops under the banner of Compassionate Hospitality. These workshops would focus on practical skills such as crisis management, effective communication, and fostering a supportive work environment. His goal was to empower staff at all levels to embrace their roles as advocates for guests. His first workshop was set to take place in New Orleans, and the buzz surrounding it was palpable. Darius was excited to engage with participants from various hotels, restaurants, and catering companies. On the day of the workshop, he arrived at the venue early, feeling a mix of anticipation and nerves. The room was filled with energy as attendees greeted each other, sharing their hopes for the day. Darius felt a sense of camaraderie among them, all united by a common goal: to improve the quality of service in their establishments. As the workshop began, Darius led discussions on the importance of empathy in service, sharing anecdotes and encouraging participants to share their own experiences. The participants were eager to engage, and Darius felt invigorated by their enthusiasm. One exercise involved role-playing scenarios where staff had to navigate challenging interactions with guests. Darius observed as participants practiced their skills, offering constructive feedback and encouragement. It was rewarding to see them gain confidence as they honed their abilities to manage difficult situations. During a break, a young woman named Sarah approached Darius, her eyes shining with excitement. "I just wanted to thank you for this workshop. I've always felt overwhelmed working in the restaurant industry, but hearing your story and learning these techniques makes me feel empowered." Darius smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "That's what this is all about, Sarah. Remember, you have the power to make a difference in someone's day." As the day progressed, the participants formed bonds, sharing their struggles and triumphs in the industry. Darius facilitated discussions on how to support one another in the workplace, emphasizing the importance of fostering a sense of community among staff. At the end of the workshop, Darius invited participants to share their takeaways. "What's one thing you're going to implement in your workplace?" One man raised his hand. "I want to start a monthly team meeting where we can share our experiences and support each other. I think it'll help us build a stronger team." "Great idea," Darius replied, encouraging the others to build on this notion. One by one, they shared their intentions, creating a collective sense of accountability and motivation to implement change. As the workshop concluded, Darius felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He had witnessed the power of community and compassion in action, and it was clear that together they could create a lasting impact in their industry. The following weeks were filled with excitement as Darius continued to host workshops in different cities. Each session brought new stories, challenges, and triumphs. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and he felt a sense of fulfillment knowing that he was contributing to a cultural shift in hospitality. As the holiday season approached, Darius received a call from the Lux Grand Hotel. The management wanted to discuss the possibility of reintroducing him to their team in a leadership capacity. They had been following his journey and were impressed by the impact he had made within the industry. The prospect of returning to his roots was both thrilling and daunting. Darius felt a strong pull to contribute to his original workplace, while also knowing he had grown significantly since his departure. After several discussions with Tanya and weighing the pros and cons, Darius decided to accept the offer, hoping to bring the lessons he had learned back to the Lux Grand. When Darius walked through the doors of the Lux Grand for the first time in months, he felt a wave of nostalgia wash over him. The elegant lobby, the familiar scent of fresh flowers, and the sound of guests mingling brought back memories of his time there. As he settled into his new role, Darius focused on implementing the training programs he had developed. He held meetings with staff to discuss the importance of empathy and service and how they could create a culture of compassion within their team. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Darius watched as his colleagues embraced the new initiatives, motivated to provide exceptional service while supporting one another. The atmosphere in the hotel began to shift, with employees feeling valued and empowered in their roles. Darius organized a series of workshops to train staff on crisis management and communication, bringing in experts to facilitate discussions and share best practices. The staff engaged eagerly, and Darius could see their confidence growing as they learned valuable skills. As the holiday season approached, the Lux Grand Hotel was busier than ever. Darius worked tirelessly alongside his team, ensuring that guests received the highest level of service. He felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that he was part of a transformative movement. One particularly hectic evening, as the restaurant buzzed with activity, a young girl began to choke on her food. Darius sprang into action, recalling the skills he had honed through his training. He calmly assessed the situation, quickly communicating with his colleagues to ensure the guest received immediate assistance. The staff worked together seamlessly, and within moments, the young girl was safe. As the family expressed their gratitude, Darius felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He realized that the culture of compassion he had been advocating for was becoming a reality, and that change was happening right before his eyes. As the year drew to a close, Darius reflected on his journey, the struggles he had faced, the victories he had celebrated, and the lives he had touched. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to serve and advocate for a legacy of compassion extended. As the new year dawned, Darius Walker found himself in a reflective mood. The holiday season had been a whirlwind of activity at the Lux Grand Hotel, but now, as the guests departed and the staff took a much-needed breather, Darius embraced the quiet. He knew that the real work of nurturing the culture of compassion he had started was only just beginning. In the wake of the successful holiday season, Darius began to assess the changes within the hotel. Employees were more engaged, guests left glowing reviews about their experiences, and the overall atmosphere felt lighter, more welcoming. Darius understood that the momentum they had built needed to be sustained. It was vital to continue fostering an environment where compassion thrived. One sunny afternoon, Darius organized a staff retreat, a day dedicated to team building, relaxation, and reflection. He wanted to create a space for the staff to connect on a personal level, share their experiences, and reinforce the ideals they had been working to instill in their workplace. The retreat took place at a nearby park, where the staff could enjoy the fresh air and natural surroundings. Darius planned various activities to encourage bonding and open communication. As the team arrived, he greeted them with a warm smile, excited to see familiar faces that had become more than just colleagues. They were friends and allies in a shared mission. "Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could make it today. Let's take this time to relax, have fun, and remind ourselves why we're committed to making the Lux Grand a place where compassion and excellence go hand in hand," Darius announced, his enthusiasm infectious. The day began with icebreaker games, allowing team members to learn more about one another in a relaxed setting. Laughter filled the air as stories were exchanged, and Darius watched as bonds formed and strengthened. He moved from group to group, engaging with everyone and encouraging participation. After lunch, Darius led a discussion on the core values they had been fostering: empathy, communication, and collaboration. He encouraged the staff to share their personal experiences from the past year, emphasizing how their commitment to compassion had positively impacted their interactions with guests and each other. One waitress named Mia shared a heartfelt story about an elderly couple who had visited the hotel for their anniversary. "They were a little difficult at first," she admitted, "but after I took the time to listen to their stories, we connected. By the end of the night, they were in tears because they felt so cared for. It made my heart swell knowing I could make that kind of impact." The team nodded in agreement, sharing their own anecdotes. Each story reinforced the idea that compassion was more than just a buzzword. It was a practice that could change lives. Darius facilitated the discussion, guiding it toward actionable goals. "Let's brainstorm some ways we can continue to support each other and our guests," he suggested. Ideas flowed freely. Mentorship programs, regular team check-ins, and community outreach initiatives were among the many suggestions. As the retreat came to a close, Darius felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had built a foundation of compassion that was becoming part of the hotel's identity. The retreat had reignited their passion, and he was hopeful for the future. Over the next few months, Darius continued to implement the ideas generated during the retreat. He established a mentorship program where seasoned staff could guide newer employees, fostering a sense of community and support. He also initiated monthly team meetings to discuss challenges, celebrate successes, and share experiences that showcased their commitment to compassion. As the hotel began to thrive, Darius also sought to give back to the community. He organized charity events, where employees could volunteer their time and skills to help local shelters. The team's involvement not only enhanced their bond, but also connected them to the community in meaningful ways. One Saturday, the Lux Grand Hotel hosted a charity gala to raise funds for a local children's hospital. Darius worked tirelessly alongside his team, coordinating efforts and ensuring that every detail was perfect. The night was filled with laughter, joy, and the spirit of giving, culminating in a record amount raised for the hospital. Darius felt a profound sense of fulfillment as he witnessed the positive changes within his team and their impact on the community. However, he remained grounded, knowing that their work was ongoing. He frequently checked in with his staff, seeking feedback and encouraging open dialogue. One evening, as Darius was leaving the hotel, he noticed a familiar figure sitting in the lobby. It was the same elderly couple Mia had mentioned at the retreat. Their faces lit up with recognition when they saw him. "Mr. Walker, it's wonderful to see you again," the husband exclaimed, his eyes sparkling. Darius approached with a warm smile. "It's great to see you both. How was your stay?" The couple shared their experience, speaking highly of the staff and the atmosphere of the hotel. "It feels like home here," the wife said, her voice filled with emotion. "We felt so cared for, just like the last time we visited." Darius's heart swelled with pride. It was moments like these that validated the hard work and dedication of his team. "Thank you for sharing that. We strive to create a welcoming environment, and I'm so glad you felt that." As they chatted, Darius learned more about their lives, their family, and their adventures. He was reminded of the power of connection, the very essence of hospitality. After bidding them farewell, Darius felt a renewed sense of purpose. He returned to his office, reflecting on how far they had come since he had first started advocating for compassion in the industry. Yet he knew there was still more work to do. Around this time, Darius was approached by a publisher interested in documenting his journey and the initiatives he had spearheaded. They wanted to create a book that would inspire others in the hospitality industry to adopt similar practices of empathy and compassion. After careful consideration, Darius agreed to collaborate with the publisher. He saw this as an opportunity to amplify the message of compassion and share the lessons he had learned with a wider audience. Writing the book was both exhilarating and challenging. Darius poured his heart into each chapter, detailing his experiences at the Lux Grand Hotel, the stories from his workshops, and the powerful testimonies of staff and guests. He emphasized the idea that hospitality was not merely a profession but a calling, one that required authenticity, empathy, and a commitment to serving others. As the book neared publication, Darius received an outpouring of support from his colleagues and community. They organized a launch event at the Lux Grand, inviting local business leaders, hotel representatives, and even the elderly couple who had become friends. On the day of the launch, the energy in the hotel was palpable. Darius stood at the front of the room, holding a copy of his book, Heartfelt Hospitality, A Journey of Compassion in Service. As he addressed the crowd, he felt a mix of nerves and excitement. "Thank you all for being here today," Darius began, his voice steady. "This book is not just a reflection of my journey. It's a testament to the incredible work we've done together as a team. It highlights the importance of compassion in our industry and how, through our actions, we can create meaningful connections with our guests." The applause that followed echoed through the hall, and Darius felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. It was a moment of recognition not just for his efforts, but for the entire team at the Lux Grand Hotel. As he signed copies of his book, Darius connected with attendees, sharing stories and insights. He felt a profound sense of community as he witnessed the impact of their collective efforts in promoting compassion within the industry. In the months that followed, the book gained traction, and Darius received invitations to speak at various conferences and events. He was thrilled to share his message with a broader audience, inspiring others to embrace empathy in their own workplaces. Through it all, Darius remained dedicated to his family. Tanya and their children continued to be his motivation, and he made it a point to prioritize family time amid his busy schedule. He often took Marcus to the park, where they played and shared stories. As Darius's journey progressed, he became increasingly aware of the ripple effect of compassion. It wasn't just limited to the Lux Grand Hotel. It extended into the community, inspiring others to advocate for change. Darius often received messages from hotel staff across the country who had read his book and were implementing similar initiatives in their workplaces. Reflecting on his journey, Darius realized that compassion was more than just a practice. It was a legacy. The work he and his team had done at the Lux Grand would resonate for years to come, influencing future generations of hospitality professionals. One evening, as he sat with Tanya, Darius shared his thoughts. "I never imagined my journey would lead me here. It's been incredible to witness the transformation within our industry, and it all started with that one moment when I chose to act." Tanya smiled, pride evident in her eyes. "You've made such a difference, Darius. Your story has inspired so many, and it's a testament to your strength and resilience." Darius nodded, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "But it's not just my story. It's ours. The support from our family and the love we share has fueled this journey." As the sun set on another day, Darius felt grateful for the life he had built, one rooted in compassion, connection, and service. He knew that while his journey was far from over, the legacy of compassion he had created would continue to grow, inspiring countless others in the world of hospitality. With renewed purpose, Darius looked ahead, excited for the future and all the possibilities it held. He understood that every interaction, every moment